Welcome, everyone, to episode number 105 of Talkin Kentucky. My name is Coleman Scott. Caden Holmes is out of commission tonight. He is at a marching band showcase for his brother tonight, which I think is a very brotherly thing to do. So tonight, I'm joined by none other than Corey Price, who is now just really a regular on the show, honestly, and has become a close friend of Caden and mine, as demonstrated by him coming to our trumpet recital in Bowling Green just a few weeks ago. Corey, thanks again for coming to that, and hope you're doing well tonight. Thanks for joining us once again here.
Thank you, Coleman. I feel like it's been a while since I've been on here, but it's always good to be on. Said it kind of sucks that Caden's not here, but he's doing a good thing for his brother. I did enjoy the thing in Bowling Green. I was going to ask how everything went in Lexington. Fortunately, I wasn't able to go to that one. I think it was this past Saturday, I believe.
Yeah, Lexington was awesome. Yeah, it was a little bit longer recital. It went like an hour and a half or so a little bit more trumpet. I know you mentioned you don't, necessarily like classical music, but you came and supported this anyway, which I think was good. Did you have a favorite piece from the recital that we played, if you had to pick one, if you
The
remember?
I do. I'm old. I'm not that old.
You're not that
Um,
old, yeah.
yeah. The pop culture one. I mean,
Heck yeah.
that was songs that I've seen on shows and movies, so that's the one that I like the most.
Well, you can relate to it. That's exactly right. So yeah, we had the little pictures going on behind it too. It's a little pop culture medley. We had some scrolling back there. We had Homer Simpson. We had Meow Mix, Phantom of the Opera. All kinds of stuff back there. So that was definitely a fan favorite for sure. But glad you liked that. Maybe we could shepherd you into some classical trumpet repertoire too. Won't force that upon you, but we might work on you a little bit. Maybe we can get Caden into football, and we can get you into classical trumpet. Maybe that'll work out. So.
I gotta ask, what was your favorite piece to listen to or play during that?
Oh, that's a good. Well, probably the Song of Hope. We did that in Lexington too. There's a kind of a special connection with that piece that we can all relate to, and kind of know who that was written for personally. And so that was a really powerful piece to play. And went really well too, I think. And it's really special to get to play with like people that are not only really talented, but some of your best friends too. That's really a great thing to get to do. Um,
I wish I would know that feeling, but I've never played trumpet, so I don't know.
well, hey, we can get you working. I was actually, I
Oh,
went over to KS Bar the other day for Matt's grand return this week, and I'm sure you've heard before, if you're KSR listener, that Matt is a former trumpet player. Only had to stop because he got braces. But I was kind of telling him, I told him I just finished my doctorate in trumpet. He said, "In trumpet?" He said, "You wait, you want to play like an orchestra?" Or I was like, "Well, I want to teach at college and really be a trumpet teacher. So if you ever want to get back into the whole trumpet thing, you got to let me know." And he said, "Well, listen, I used to be really good until I got braces. So maybe we can get you and Matt rolling on the trumpet here. That'd be good."
I don't know. Speaking of colleges, didn't know if you want to update the listeners on your current job search.
Well, I could. I'm still unemployed. Still. Well, that's not entirely true. I kind of work part time at University of Louisiana Monroe a little bit, so I've been playing with the faculty brass quintet up there. But I'm still searching. So for I'll keep everybody up to date about that. But hope to be a coach of the trumpet within the next year at a school. So I'll keep everybody up to date on that. It needs to be like Adam Schefter. We need to have like a
Right.
Twitter account with updates for
Woj
trumpet
bomb.
jobs. Yeah, that's right.
Woj
Yeah,
bomb. Right.
that'd be great. But So in the meantime, I'm going to be back down in LSU country. Going to be back down in Baton Rouge. So happy to be, around SEC athletics again. That's going to be great to get to continue to be in the South. When I was out in Colorado, it just wasn't the same to be out in like Pac-12 country. I just feel like they just don't care about sports as much out that way. Like it's just, in the SEC they say it just means more, but it really does.
Yeah.
So.
I
Um,
think people in that state are busy doing other things, so it's fun.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's
Uh,
yeah.
how many times have you heard the Garth Brooks song about Baton Rouge?
Oh, a million times, a million
Yeah.
times. And he came down to do a concert in Baton Rouge in the football stadium. Yeah, I think it was 2022, a couple years back that he did it. And it actually registered as an earthquake when they were singing "Call in Baton Rouge," because it's the stadium seats like 102,000 people. So
Right.
when you got all those people, you got Garth Brooks and his sound system and all his fans in there. It's going to register as an earthquake. So it happened.
Amazing.
But
Have
um,
you have you gotten tired of it? The
I have
the
not. I've not gotten tired. I've learned. Yeah, I've heard a million different versions of that song at this point, but I'm not tired of it. I feel like everywhere I go, there's like a song or two songs for every city that I've been in that kind of makes me think of that town for whatever reason. Might not even have anything to do with the town. Of course, calling Baton Rouge, it does, but
right.
I'd be just something that I was listening to when I was kind of hanging out in that city or whatever. So yeah, I feel like I equate my music as a musician. I equate music with places, and that's not something I really get tired of. I think I think it's a cool thing to kind of wrap up your nostalgia and music like that.
So what songs make you think of Kentucky or Lexington or Louisville or Frankfurt?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I don't know if you know the group Chicago. You probably do. The whole '70s rock
Chicago?
thing going
Of
on.
course,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
good. So you see, yeah, you're cool. Then we can
I
shepherd you
mean,
into liking some more
I
music.
am cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's a given.
Yeah, definitely. But so I had man, it's all throughout high school. I had a Chicago album in my car probably for my entire high school career. Probably just never took it out of my CD player. I had one
Yeah.
of those famous had one of those famous 6 CD players in my car. Still
Oh,
rocking the
nice.
the 2005 Honda CRV. So it's still got the CD player. They don't make them like that anymore.
No, no.
Um, but so for some reason, I just when I think of my hometown, Frankfurt, I think of Chicago. So for whatever reason, that's what's playing in my head when I come to Frankfurt. But Lexington, you got the whole probably like some Luke Combs, probably more country stuff. Stuff I was listening to in my undergrad there. I don't know, just like whatever I was is kind of like on my Spotify playlist at the time where I live somewhere is kind of what it is,
So what's your go-to song from Chicago?
from Chicago. So gosh, well, I have a million, but I'd probably have to say 25 or 6 to 4 is a
Yeah,
big
that's
one. I mean,
that's
yeah,
nice.
I mean, the whole like, it's a great marching band tune too, right? Marching
Yep.
band, pep band, it translates well. So, that's probably one thing that I would say. Also like some Earth, Wind and Fire too.
Okay.
So, I like it.
I think Tom Leach likes some Earth, Wind& and Fire as well, I believe.
Okay. Hey, well, that's somebody else we need to have on the show at some time. We need
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah, we need to talk. I could talk to Tom Leach about some Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think that'd be great.
He would
Um,
enjoy that thoroughly, I'm sure.
Madeline says Cincinnati has "Welcome to the Jungle," which is yes, that's a great to big Bengals. I assume they play that at Bengals games. That would be
Makes sense, yeah.
that would make a lot of sense. Caden Holmes is in the comments. He's not on the show, but he's in the comments. He's saying, "Corey, do you like classical music now?" Caden, I was just
Yeah,
asking Corey. I don't think he's converted yet, but we're
no.
gonna get him there. I think we can. So.
I'm not the president of the, fan club just yet, but maybe
But
someday, we'll
he's
see.
yeah, we can keep inviting him to our recitals, Caden,
Sure, yeah.
and that might happen. So, um, well, speaking of Caden, Corey and I were talking before the show. Caden's not the biggest football fan. We're like I said, we're trying to convert Corey to classical music. We're trying to convert Caden to football. So I thought it would take kind of tonight, Corey, to go a little bit over focusing on football. Focusing specifically on football season, kind of getting us ready for that. Use the opportunity while Caden's away to
Mm.
find an excuse to talk a little bit more football here. So we might do some of that, but. So Corey, you're going into this is your. If you don't know, Corey is the statistician for the University of Kentucky football team for UK Sports Network. I guess is really who you're working for there, or JMI, or any of the above. But Corey, so is this your third year that you're going into of it, or am I right about that?
Yes, this is my third season. It's still crazy, honestly, that I get to work in between Tom Leach and Jeff Picoro. Uh,
Yeah,
Tom, Tom's the goat, in my opinion. He's true pros pro. Jeff's awesome too. But I was listening to Tom as a kid because a lot of times growing up, our games were not live on TV. They'd be on like tape delay. So if you wanted to know what was happening as it was happening, you had to listen to Tom. So Tom was a
right.
big part of my youth. So to know that, and now that I'm working beside him, it's pretty awesome, man. Pretty awesome.
Man, that's awesome. I think I've told you before when I was a kid too. I actually got to go observe Tom at the radio station there at the old iHeart radio station in Lexington when he was doing his radio show, which was pretty cool for me to get to do as a young kid. And just saw him not too long ago and told him I was doing this podcast now, and he's like, "Well, nowadays, you don't really need a radio station. You could just do a podcast, wherever." So it's kind of crazy how things have changed. But I know we've talked about you doing that on the show before, but kind of take us what a day in the life of Corey Price as a UK football statistician looks like. Like when do you get to the games? What's
Mhm.
kind of your job look like during the game, after the game? All the above.
So I try to get to the booth about somewhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours before kickoff. And nice mug, by the way. Um,
Oh, thank you. Yes, absolutely. You got to go with the UK. It's the retro
right.
logo. It's the
Hey,
old one there.
even better.
So
So I
yeah.
get there about hour and a half to 2 hours before the game. I have like my own little board that I keep stats on just in case the stats monitor, like we lose it for, bad Wi-Fi or something. I don't know. So keep stats myself. So usually I'll look at the depth chart and write down, I don't know, top four backs, top two quarterbacks, maybe top, I don't know, 8 to 10 receivers, people that I think will get in the game and get some touches, so I don't have to like write down their name as the game goes along. And then during the game, I just keep stats. Offense, I don't keep any stats on defense. Um, Throughout the game, if something happens, I think it's pretty special, either team wise or for one player, I'll try and do some research, look something up, and then if I find something that's noteworthy, I'll run a post it and give it to Tom, and it's up to him whether he wants to say it on air or not. So that's pretty much it. I give him the team stats in the first and third quarter. He usually wants the stats for the QBs after each drive, starting the second quarter, the basics, and then post game, I'm usually in the booth for maybe not that long, maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then I go switch over to the press box and I help UK with their post game notes. So I do double duty throughout the day. So I'm usually there probably at least an hour, maybe hour and a half afterwards. So I'm there probably 6 hours total, I'd say, on game days. But I love it. Wouldn't trade for anything, and I'm looking forward to starting it again.
Hey, it sounds like you're doing it all there. Keeping track of the stats and giving Tom post-it notes. Is it hard to kind of multitask all that, especially like keeping the stats during the game? Do you find that's hard to keep up with a little bit?
Not too. It might be this year because I think, at least I hope, we might be playing a little faster, so it might not be as much time in between plays. Last year, I had all the time in the world to look up stuff. Unfortunately, they were
That's
playing
true.
pretty slow. But
Yeah.
I mean, I should be able to adapt. Shouldn't be a big deal.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I mean, and we'll talk about that a little bit as the show goes on tonight about the pace of play this year and everything, which has obviously been a topic of conversation. But yeah, I mean, we were the slowest team in America, like next to Iowa, for the past 2 years. So I guess you kind of did have all the time in the world
Yep.
to do the stats and everything. But you don't keep stats for defense; it's just offense. You said.
Yeah, just offense. You know, we do have a stats monitor that does do stats on defense. So I mean, hopefully the Wi-Fi doesn't go out or anything like that. So that's readily available.
Madeline in the comments here says, "What do you do off season, Corey?" I know you've told us, told me before, at least on the show, but remind everybody what you do outside of football stats.
I'm just kind of your average Joe, and when I'm not doing that, just your typical office desk job. I do accounts receivable type work for a company here in Louisville, so nothing too fancy.
Claude says, "Hello, Coleman and Corey." Hello, Claude. Good to see you in the comments here. We
Yeah,
also got Pete down here in the comments. Good to see you, Pete. He's saying they're considering a two quarterback scenario this season, which I
mm,
saw that yesterday as well, which I definitely want to talk about eventually tonight as well. But so let's kind of talk about the scope of the season as a whole here. I heard Matt kind of breaking down the schedule the other day, and I really liked his approach to how he was looking at it this year. I mean, this is a really exciting season because it has potential to be just astronomically great or
mm,
astronomically bad. Because there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of toss-up games on the schedule for this year, but he sort of grouped in Southern Miss, Ohio, Murray State, and Vanderbilt as kind of the four stinky teams that we're gonna beat. Right,
yep,
that's a Matt Jones coin term, by the way. Stinky teams.
right.
So I mean, but some people might say, well, we lost to Vanderbilt a couple years ago. Yeah, I know, but we're not losing to Vanderbilt this year, right, Corey? We can
No,
say that we're going to beat those four teams. I mean, do you have any opposition to that?
no. Those four seem. I mean, we're kind of in a point where we can almost add a little bit of that, but I do think Brahms getting their program on the up and up. But yeah, those four should be wins for sure.
So if you take those four, and then the other side of the token is you have Georgia and then at Texas, right? And so you got to say, man, it's gonna be hard to win those games, right? 'Cause we're kind of I hate to say it, but if you're being realistic, you're kind of expecting to lose those, right? I mean, unless you feel differently, Corey. I kind of am of the belief it's like, man, that's two like regular playoff teams, from the past, national title contenders from the past few years, and you can't expect to win those games necessarily.
Yeah, I think the schedule divides up into thirds. I think there's four gimmies. I think four really tough games and four games are toss ups. The four that are really tough to me are Georgia, and then on the road we have Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee. Those pretty tough. Uh, Texas coming into the conference, that's big. Lane Kiffin has Ole Miss as a top 10, top 15 team right now, and historically not done well against Tennessee. Although the last time we beat them was in Knoxville, so uh, I think those four are extremely difficult. We'd have to pull off an upset to get one of those four, and the other four are really our toss ups to me.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, you have Georgia and Texas are like the really stretch games. Ole Miss and Tennessee are still stretch games, but they're like a little more doable. But then you have Florida, right? South Carolina, Auburn, and Louisville that are, like you said, the true toss-up games. So what I kind of want to go through is let's go through those four toss-up games. And we'll get to Ole Miss and Tennessee in a minute, but let's go through those four games and kind of see what you think about that. The most important game that I see on the schedule right now is that second week against South Carolina. Matt was even talking about this last week. It's like you got to win week 2 against South Carolina at home, right? So, but we've lost him 2 years in a row, which is somewhat hard to believe. But Corey, I think we beat them this year. I think we got their number this year. There's no way South Carolina's beaten us 3 years in a row, right?
Yeah, last season was a tough loss. And this year, like I said, second game of the year, and we play Georgia in week 3. So if we lose to South Carolina, don't want to start the season 1-2. So that's South Carolina might be the biggest in terms of momentum for the rest of the season. In my opinion, that's a must win for sure.
So South Carolina, we both kind of think we're going to win that game. Then you look, let's see, at Florida. And we've beaten Florida 3 years in a row now, and I know it's kind of we're getting to the point. It's like you look at Florida and you're like, man, we kind of own Florida. Like, can we assume that that's going to be a win? Every year now, but it's still at Florida. I don't think they're going to be good this year, but it's still hard to go win on the road in the SEC, especially when you're playing in the swamp. But I think they're going to do it just because I think they're a better program right now. I think they're more talented than Florida. But what do you think, Corey?
I think we're picked ahead of them in the media poll of the SEC, I believe. I think we were like 11th, and they were like 13th or something. I think we won 2 of the last 3 in Gainesville, I believe. I think that's right, maybe. So this year the game is right after Vandy, so I hope we don't have like a letdown after hopefully a big blowout win over Vandy. So don't I mean don't say it's a trap game, but it'll be hard coming off that Vandy game. Maybe a little hard being on the road, but I think it should be a win.
That's a good point, though. It could be kind of a trap game after Vandy. And, historically, we open SEC play with Florida, right? And we play them at the beginning
Yep.
of the year. So it's going to be kind of weird playing them in late October. So do you think there's any kind of weirdness going on with that? Do you think it's going to be harder to beat Florida when you're playing them midseason like that?
I don't think so. I think not counting the COVID year, I think it's probably 1992, somewhere around there. It's probably the last time we played them this late in the season. So it'll be different for sure, but I don't think the time of year should be that much of a factor.
And then you go to Auburn, or well, you don't go to Auburn. Auburn comes to Lexington. So, I think that Auburn's still in kind of that rebuilding phase. They've kind of have been for a long time now. I mean, last time they were really good is when Cam Newton was there, right? I mean, that's the last time I could think about Auburn being really, really, really good. And gosh, they played in Lexington on a
2015.
Thursday. Yeah, that was my freshman year at UK. Yeah, I was on a Thursday night too, which was kind of weird. I don't think we've had a Thursday night game since then, have we? I mean, it's
No,
been
and,
yeah.
and that was our first Thursday night home game, I think, since the 1940s as well. So it had been a long time.
I remember that night. I was in the band that year, so we did a throwback Thursday show that night, which was
Oh,
pretty
okay.
cool. So we did like a bunch of old movies. We did like Back to the Future, did some Star Wars, did some ET. We put ET on a bike on the field, and it was pretty cool. So it was a good show for sure. It was a heartbreaker if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, right? It was a pretty close game, so we played them well.
Yeah. I think we lost by 3 that game. Yeah.
Even Georgia, I don't know if it was that year or the following year. I think
I
we
think 2016 Georgia, we lost on a last second field goal. Yeah.
yeah, it'll get you for sure. But yeah, that's a game that I think you should win. You're at home. You know, You might even have the slight edge anyway, as far as the roster and coaching. So I think that's a win personally.
Auburn has a lot of question marks coming into the season, and once again, it kind of feels like a trap game because it's after we play at Florida and before we play at Tennessee. So that might make it a little tougher than I would think just on paper. But yeah, we're definitely better talent-wise as of today than Auburn. So that should be a win. Plus, it's at home, so should
Right.
should be a W. Yeah,
Should be a W, and then you get Louisville right at home on Senior Day, so that's kind of the fourth like little toss up game here. And it's kind of like the reverse of Tennessee. I'm not going to beat us to pick or pick us to beat Tennessee, until we do consistently, and I'm not going to beat Louisville. I'm not going to pick Louisville until they beat us consistently. So I'm picking us to beat Louisville and until we don't.
yeah. L's down forever. I can't stand Louisville being from here. Uh, Ironically, I think record-wise, we're better historically at Louisville than in Lexington. Slightly better at Louisville than Lexington, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean they haven't beaten us since what 2017, I think. So yeah, I'm not picking them.
Yeah, but a few years ago, I would have said, I would have put them in the category of Vandy, right? Of like, oh,
Yeah,
that's a win. But yeah, Jeff Brom is doing a great job rebuilding that program. So I mean, you can't necessarily chalk it up as an automatic win, as much on paper, this year and last year. But I certainly think that historically we can kind of feel that way as
oh
a
yeah,
fan base. So and I think that's okay for the time being. But so yeah, we got all those games. But what's hard, Corey, is it feels like every year we lose a game that we're not supposed to, at least one,
yep.
right? So that's the question. We look at those four games and say they're toss up games, but we might even have the slight edge on all four of those. But you got to think we might lose one of those. If you had to pick one that might be that game, that's kind of the trap game that we're not supposed to lose. Which one are you picking?
Hmm. Probably the home game against Auburn. Like I said, it's in between at Florida and at Tennessee, so we might have a letdown there. That's probably my most likely loss if those were a loss.
Yeah, I'd put that one up there too. I'd also say at Florida, but it's almost hard to
Yeah,
say. It's almost hard to be disappointed. I mean, look at how far we come as a program, right? It's like for us to be mad that we lose at Florida.
right.
That's that's kind of still a stretch. So that's not necessarily one that I'm going to say is a must win or you're even supposed to win. But I could see that being a trap game too for sure. But let's say, it goes well. Let's say you beat the four stinky teams, and then let's say you win all four of those toss-up games. You win the games that you're supposed to win essentially this year. Then it comes your whole season uh can kind of change dramatically in the hands of two games really. At Ole Miss and at Tennessee. Um, so Corey, if you were to win one of those games and take care of the business, like we were just saying on the other games, you'll go to the playoff. You'll be in the first 12 team college football playoff, almost definitely. So do you think there's a chance? Are you telling me there's a chance that either one of those games that we could pull off an upset, and which one do you think's more likely?
I would say at Tennessee's probably more likely, because I think almost I think it's close to preseason top 10, and we're playing them at noon, which is 11 their time, so it's an early start, so team might be a little groggy, but if if we win the games we should win, which almost every year we don't, but if we do and we steal Tennessee, I mean 9-3 with this schedule would be nothing short of amazing. I mean, honestly, I would be thrilled going 8-4 with our
Yeah.
schedule. It's so many tough
Hmm.
games.
I think that's a lot of people's pick for the season is 8-4. I think that's the most kind of popular pick, maybe 7-5, 8-4 on that fringe. But that, what everybody's kind of looking at is if you get to 9-3, yeah, I mean, we'd be having a parade. We go to the playoffs. So, yeah, I'd probably give Tennessee that edge too. For winning that game. It's kind of weird now that we like know the kickoffs so far in advance too. So that's something that we can talk about now. Like we could talk about, oh, that's a noon kickoff, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Corey, but I think last time we went to Tennessee and beat them in Neyland, it was a noon kickoff too. I'm pretty sure.
It was during the day. I can't remember the exact time. It was definitely during the day, and
Yeah,
we beat him pretty handily.
pretty. Now it was during COVID,
Yeah,
but
so there
still,
wasn't much of a crowd, but yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, as long as it's not a night game, it's fine. That
Mhm.
atmosphere, a couple years back when we played down there when they had the black jerseys and it was like Halloween and everything,
Yep.
that was pretty crazy. Yeah, we don't want to run into that again. We don't want them throwing any goalposts in the river or anything either, like they did against Bama. But yeah, I would probably say the one that would be more likely would be at Tennessee than Ole Miss. I don't think people are talking enough about how good Ole Miss is going to be this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be really good. But I mean, it's going to be offensive firepower probably, right? I mean, that's going to be where they're gonna light up the scoreboard, is offensively. So, and this Brad White defense, I mean, this might be. I've heard some people saying this might be Mark Stoops' best defense that he's had this year coming in. So, you don't know how it's going to look and how it's going to stack up. So, um, what is your official prediction? Oh, if you had to give a prediction right now, um, would you say 8-4, 7-5, 9-3? Where are you kind of leaning right now?
I would love to say 8-4 because on paper I think they can go 8-4, but like you mentioned just a few minutes ago, there's always one game that they lose that they should not lose. It happens every single season. So unfortunately, if I had to put money on it, I would say 7-5.
Yeah, I sort of think that that's the most likely scenario is 8-4, 7-5. I'm going 8-4 just to be optimistic, but I don't think 9-3 would be crazy. I think it's certainly a possibility. I think you're getting to be a little bit crazy if you go to 10-2, but I think 9-3 is possible. 8-4 is more possible, and 7-5 is likely. Is probably what I would say right now. But that's what makes it so exciting. Is because all these games are toss ups. Like every game really matters. But with the 12-team playoff model now, you can kind of like you can lose to Georgia week 3 and not feel terrible about yourself. The fan base is not going to fall off the wagon after losing to Georgia, right,
No.
or after losing to Texas. So there's much more to play for, and it's really those 6 games that we talked about, the 4 toss-up games, and then Ole Miss and Tennessee. That's really where your season's going to be made or made or broken there. So now, Corey, you tweeted transition a little bit to basketball and Olympics here. You tweeted a little bit earlier today a stat that I thought was pretty cool. USA basketball's overall record in the Summer Olympics, when they have at least one former Kentucky men's basketball player on the roster, is 58-1. So, I mean, we're the gold standard, right? I mean that's a pretty crazy stat there.
I mean, to be fair, they've only lost 6 games total. I think they're 148-6 all time. So I mean, they're
Hey,
they're, they're really good even without ex Cast and Rusher. But I mean, we're almost perfect when
those
it's just
five
ex Cal and Rusher. So
those 5 losses aren't our fault, right?
that's right.
So, yeah, that's what you can say, but, I have a list here, since you're gonna be on the show, I thought I had to pull up some kinda stat and try to stump the Corey here.
Okay.
But so I have a list of all the Kentucky basketball players, that have ever medaled in the Olympics, bronze, silver, or gold here. Um There's not too many of them. There's not as many as you might think, but I just want to see if you or anybody in our comments can kind of throw some of these out. Some of them really recent, some of them really not recent. So I just want to see if any were coming to you off the top of your head here.
Well, last 2020 or 2021, I guess.
Right.
Bam, Booker,
Mm.
and Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, you got those three. Absolutely.
2016 was Boogie, I believe.
Yep, nailed it. Uh-huh.
2012 was AD.
Yep, got it.
He was the college pick. 2008 was Tayshaun Prince.
Yep, you're plowing through them. Yeah, backwards and forwards here.
I'm trying to think. 2008, then there's a pretty big gap
There's
at
a big cap.
before Prince. I would say
Mm-hmm. Got to go back to
uh
1980 before Prince.
yeah, well, yes and no. US, they boycotted the Olympics in 1980.
Right.
So Sam Bowie was going to be on the roster, but they didn't play. So
But they didn't play, so they awarded it to him at a later time. But Sam Bowie is on the 1980 list here. But then you got to go back even further. Then now it gets yeah
1960.
60. Yeah, they got to go back a little.
I
Gets a little
want to
harder. Yeah,
say Adrian Smith,
Adrian Smith, you got it. Yep,
1956. Billy Evans,
Billy Evans. Yep, man, how are you doing this? I don't even.
and and then of course 1948. I think our entire starting five. So
Yep,
Ralph Beard,
yep. This will round it out.
Al-
By the way, yeah.
Alex Groza,
Yep,
Ken Rollins,
Ken Rollins. Yep.
Dale Barnstable. No,
Nope, he's not one of
no.
them. Got two more
Uh,
here. Yep.
mm, I might be out. I don't know.
Man, that's insane though that you got that far. So we're going Wawa Jones,
Oh my gosh, I didn't think of Wawa.
1948, and
That's embarrassing.
Cliff Barker.
Cliff Barker.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything embarrassing about you
Well,
rattling
it's
those off there.
pretty embarrassing to forget Jones.
Wawa
He was
Jones.
yeah.
No, but
Still,
that's it though. Man, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, even like knowing the years, I wouldn't have known that. I mean, that's crazy. So, props to you, and even knowing the thing about Sam Bowie, the whole 1980 like boycott of the Olympics and things like that. That's insane. But props to you. So I had to throw that out there. Yeah, I had to throw a little list out there. Another basketball thing, while we're on the topic that I wanted to throw out, I want to see if uh, anybody down in the comments can get this too. There are only now. I'm not including Texas and Oklahoma in this. I'm only including the previously enlisted SEC teams here or SEC arenas. There are only two current SEC arenas that we have a losing record in basketball. And I want to see if anybody can guess the two that we have a losing record in here. So, which I think is pretty cool, right? I mean, we have a winning record in most teams opposing arenas, which is pretty cool. But there are two. Now it's close. It's close, but so we'll get back on the right side here eventually. But right now we're on the opposite end.
I have three guesses for the two.
Okay.
South Carolina's current arena. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, Colonial Life Arena. We are 5-6 in.
Yep.
So yeah, South Carolina is one of them. Yeah.
And then for the last one, it's probably going to be either Auburn Arena or Thompson Boling Arena.
You got it with Auburn. Yeah,
Okay.
Auburn we're 4-5. Yeah, Clyde says South Carolina here. He called it out there. But yeah, you got it. Auburn and South Carolina are the two. We're
And
4-5.
Thompson Bowling were probably just above 500, I would say,
Yeah, we are.
if
So
I had to guess.
Auburn we're 4-5 in Auburn Arena. Tennessee Thompson Bowling we're 19-17. So
Yeah,
it's still
so
it's
barely,
yeah,
yeah.
pretty close. But but we're there. The arena we've won the most games in is Vandy. Not surprisingly, we're
Of course.
52-27.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
pretty easy when the gym's been around since the 50s and we dominate them. So yeah,
man, I mean, I kind of get Auburn because that's kind of a crazy. They've been really good recently, and that's kind of a crazy arena just because of how like on top everybody is.
yeah,
But man, South Carolina, like, what is
yeah.
it about that place? Well, like you going
I don't
back
know,
to
man.
Cal's first year with Devin Downey, right? I
Yep.
mean, like, what is it about there?
I think
Um,
um, I think President Obama called the team. I think that
he
same
did.
day because I think they had reached #1 in the polls and they were like I don't know 18-0 or something like that.
Yep.
And then of course they lose.
Yeah, we were undefeated. Yeah, I remember it was when they were doing the telethon for Haiti, for I think it was like earthquakes that were happening or something
Yep.
going on down there. But Obama was like, "Well, who do you guys have tonight?" And 'cause that's when DeMarcus Cousins said, "Hello, Mr. President, this is DeMarcus
Marcus
Cousins,"
Cousins. That's right.
and
Yep.
he said, "We got South Carolina." He said, "Well, you should be okay," and then of course we
Mhm.
lost. So Obama jinxed us that
He
game.
did.
But so thanks, Obama. But but that's okay because we'll get back on the right side eventually there. Um, Corey, did you hear about this? It is still the summer, so we still got to do some non-sports topics here that are in the news. Did you hear about this
Do it.
boa constrictor that was on the loose in Winchester?
No,
You did not hear
but
about this.
um, being it is Sinchester, I'm not entirely surprised.
That's right, Sinchester. I forgot that was a nickname over there. Home of Ale 8.
That's right.
But yeah, so somebody's pet boa constrictor was on the loose. Now they since found it, but yeah, pet boa constrictor on the loose in Winchester. I didn't even know that you could have a pet boa constrictor. I'm not sure how legal that is, nor that I don't think I would ever want a pet boa constrictor. That would probably freak me out because I would be afraid that he would escape and strangle me or somebody else. So that I don't want that on my plate.
Is that one of the longer snakes? I'm not very good on snakes.
Yeah, that's like it's one of the ones that's like super long that can like strangle
Mm,
you to death. Yeah. So
yeah. Gonna go with no on that one. But hey, the state has some people that like to have some weird pets, so I'm not entirely surprised.
yeah, well, and what would you even do like if you saw a boa constrictor in the wild? Like, I mean, you call animal control, maybe call the police. I don't know, but would you be that guy? Like, if you just saw a boa constrictor slithering on the side of the road, would you think I'm going to take matters in my own hands here, or would you kind of just say, okay, that's weird, and keep driving?
I would get as far away as possible as I could from that snake. That's for sure.
Yeah. That's a good step. So
Yep.
again, I think it's been captured now. I think and maybe returned to its rightful owner, but there was one loose in Winchester. But what might even be a more weird animal story that I saw is there's a crab found in a vending machine recently, and that might not be like such a weird thing like at the beach, but this was in Iowa. There was a live crab in a vending
Mm.
machine in Iowa, which I think is very weird. Um, so that's another kind of like nightmarish thing to like you go to put your hand in the vending machine to get your nerds gummy clusters or whatever you want out of the vending machine. There's a crab in there. That's another scenario. It's like, well, what do I do now? Like, do I call somebody about this crab that's in here? Do I leave my snack in there and walk away? Like, what do you do, right? So that's a little strange.
I would probably leave it in the machine. It's probably not worth the $1.50 to try and get my hand snatched at by a crab. I bet Joe's Crab Shack or Red Lobster would love a machine that's got a crab in it, probably.
Live crabs, yeah. Maybe it was it's supposed to be on its way to a Red Lobster or some kind of
Could be.
seafood restaurant. It just got mixed up in the wrong truck. Got put with the
Yeah.
candy instead of the seafood. Could be.
Happens all the time. All the time.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how often this happens. But couple weird animal stories there. Definitely wanted to share there. But so, guys, we want to go ahead and take a couple calls here for sure. I want to hear your thoughts on the upcoming football season. Maybe hear your thoughts about what you would do if you saw a boa constrictor or a crab in a vending machine in Iowa, and what you think about some of these swing games in football this year. Speaking of gold medals, Corey, Sydney McLaughlin won her gold
Amazing.
medal today and broke her own world record yet again here. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, I just doesn't matter, who you are, but especially that she's, a UK person.
Yeah. It's She broke her own record and she won by such a crazy length. I mean, it's hard to fathom just how dominant she is in that race. It's amazing.
Absolutely. You're on with Talkin Kentucky. Who's this?
It's Clyde. How's it going?
What's up, Clyde? How you doing, man? We're doing well.
Doing good. Just been enjoying this decent weather day in Lexington. It's been good to be in the 80s today. So I heard a football interview earlier. One of the football players actually, because it was like 90, I think, when they were practicing or whatever. And one of the football guys said, "It ain't hot. It ain't hot." I think he's a defensive player.
I
And he
saw
was
that.
saying, "This ain't hot." Yeah, you saw that too. Yeah, I just saw that on Facebook like not too long ago.
Yeah, I'm forgetting who that was, but I think somebody in the comments said he was from Georgia. So that makes sense if so. But yeah, you got to have that mentality when it's 1,000 degrees outside. You just got to tell yourself it's not hot. Just go out there, keep trucking. So.
Oh, snap. That's the Georgia linebacker, ain't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot, man. We've
Is it
got we got Georgia's whole team this year. So
is it Pop
Yeah, we
Johnson
do. We
is
got
now?
Brock and I can never think of that linebacker's name, but his name will get better
Pop
in my mind
Johnson.
as the season goes
Davis
on. I'll
Johnson.
get to know their names a little bit better. That's just normally how it goes. But with the basketball team, I pretty much know all their names. Actually, I know all of their names. So as
hey,
far as with basketball and stuff.
you're already ready. Yeah, I feel like that's always me too. Like with basketball, I always know the roster like pretty well in advance. But obviously, it's harder with football. Harder to recognize with all the helmets and pads on. First of all, but then you got 85 of them versus 11 of them to learn. So
That's true. It's always hard to see, especially with the football. Now, if I saw Maxwell Hairston or like Deion Walker out in public, I could see their face pretty well.
yeah,
And just by the size of Deion, you can't miss him. He's like a neon light. He's very noticeable. You can't hide the kid. And he's like what, 6'5", 300 something pounds. You can't hide somebody like that. But
no sir.
I know I didn't talk about this last week, but because I forgot to, but with you guys, but I wanted to say, like, shout out to the TBT La Familia team for kicking Louisville's butt in Freedom Hall and
Yeah,
just everything like that. And I thought they had a great run going to the Final Four there. It was fun. It was so much fun watching them guys, especially with the twins coming back and Coley Stein and all them guys. I think our issue against Carmen's crew, we didn't have enough size, and we wanted Coley Stein to just guard Jared Solinger the whole game, and he just got tired. And Carmen's crew, they've been there, they've done that.
they
They're a
won
good
it.
team. You got to give them credit. Yeah, they did. They won
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Yeah. So, and I blame Cal too. He was in the building, so that's really why we lost, right? Clyde is that Cal was there. So that's what I'm saying.
I said the same thing when I was watching on Funchester TV. I was like, "Is Cal really there?" I was like, "We're gonna lose," because I know Cal, and even Drew. I think it was Drew today. He either said this today or yesterday that it was Cal's reason why we lost. We had a good thing rolling, and look who shows up to ruin the party as always. He's kind of like that odd man out Cal is. You know, when you're having a good time at a party, there's always that one person that comes up and you're like, oh God, why are they here? They're here to crash the party. That's Calipari for you, buddy.
Hey, I actually was at KS Bar that night watching the game, and I saw Drew, and he actually came over and said, "If we lose this game, I'm blaming Cal," and he did. So it's fall through.
Mario was there with him too. And I saw that. I saw the rapid reaction afterwards. Mario, the black guy that's there. I'm sure you know who he is. I mean, they talk about him all the time, and he's actually been a really good hire for them. I think. I watched him on this Kentucky podcast. That's how I knew about him. And I'm also friends with him on Facebook, and I think he does a really good job. I think Matt Jones made a good hire with that kid. I really do. He's young and he's got a bright future, and he's already smart. So I think him in the future, I think he's going to do great. I mean, he already is doing good, but the opportunities that Matt's going to continue to give that kid is just it's going to be awesome. Man.
Oh yeah,
I'm glad to have Matt. I'm glad to have Matt back. I really am. It's a refresher. I actually missed Matt being on KSR, so with him being back, it feels good. I'm glad that he's back.
Well, and little sneak preview here. I actually got to meet Mario last week too. We're working on getting both Drew and Mario on the show in the near future. So they might be able to hop on. They both said that they would. So we're working on that. So be on the lookout for him coming on. But yeah, I mean Drew, obviously I met a bunch, super nice guy, but yeah, Mario too. I didn't get to meet him till the beginning of the week, but he's super cool guy. And yeah, when you go see like social media, it's not easy to do all that stuff, and it's full-time job, and he's kind of killing it over there. So
I got to meet Nick Mangione the other night.
Oh, sweet, man! Did you tell him? Did you tell him to go back to the World Series next year?
No, not my cousin Chase. They're going to the World Series up there in Indiana. It's the 10U All Stars. They got the World Series up there. So he came Tuesday and spoke to them at South Lake Shillito Park, and he spoke to them. And then I called him afterwards, and I told him, I was like, man, it was so much fun watching you guys play in the World Series. And I saw that Burks came back, and he said, yeah, we just got a 5-star guy that actually was in the draft, but he said he wanted to come to Kentucky. So we got some 5-star baseball kid coming in that Mangione was telling me, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. So he's a really nice guy. I hope you guys could I'm sure Corey has met him, but Coleman, I hope you get the chance to meet the guy. He's a really nice person.
Oh, yeah. I've heard nothing but things, but I absolutely hope I can meet him. Claude, before we let you go, what are you feeling football-wise right now? Like, where are you leaning for your prediction for this year?
Okay, so I'm going to make this quick. So I'm predicting 8-4 as everybody else is, but if we can beat Ole Miss, which I think we can. I really think we can, because we've come so close here recently. The past 2 times we played, and they have just got lucky with the call or DK Metcalf catching it, an unbelievable catch in the end zone. But anyways, I think that 8-4 is what I'm going with. I can't do 7-5 again. It's just not where you want to be. But if we can beat either Ole Miss or Tennessee, I think 9-3 is the bigger picture here. I don't think it's 10-2, but
no
8-4. I would be perfectly fine with.
So you're like me. You're saying 8-4 is what you're predicting, but you think 9-3 is possible.
Yes, I do. I think 9-3 is very possible. Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's hope that's the case when we go to the playoff. But all right, man. Well, thanks for calling in as always, and we'll see you back in the comments.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
You were saying who's that Georgia kid that we were talking about, Corey?
Pop Dumas Johnson.
Pop Demas Johnson. So I'm forgetting how many we got. A lot of. I mean, we kind of killed it in the transfer portal this year, right? We got the Ohio State, maybe a couple Ohio State kids. We got the Georgia quarterback, obviously. Got the Georgia linebacker there we were talking about. So man, we're killing it.
Got a QB from Rutgers.
QB from Rutgers. There you go. Hey, we're
Yeah,
kind of loaded in the quarterback
yeah,
room here.
yeah.
But man, that's something we need to talk about too. Is this whole news kind of scoop dropped yesterday about uh, the new offensive coordinator wanting to use two quarterbacks, possibly, right, and kind of using that as a way to be creative. Um, you like that, Corey? Are you like Nick Saban saying if you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks? What's kind of your thoughts on that?
I like it to throw a wrench into the plans. Make the defense. You know, overthink maybe sometimes. Gavin, I think, is a pretty good runner, so maybe like a wildcat type package, or have him out wide, do like a little sweep or something. Um, I don't mind it. I know Bush said a while ago that he wants, um, I think, 3 or 4 first downs each game by the QB with their legs. So I think a package where you have both in the same time, I think that might be where they might try and run it. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, I am too. Honestly, I mean, you got to be creative, right? Like, especially if you're wanting to upset one of these teams like Georgia or Texas, you might have to throw some scheme at them like that. I mean, we've tried to do this before where we like out Georgia. That's not gonna work, right? Because we just don't have the Jimmys to Joe and Joes to do that. And even with like tempo, right? Yeah, we're gonna play faster, but we're not gonna play like Ole Miss or
No.
anything. So we're not gonna out Ole Miss. So we might just have to get creative, and this guy might just be the dude to do it. I mean, I'm kind of excited about the offense. Everything I'm hearing, I'm really hearing that the offense is clicking on all cylinders right now. So I'm hoping that that's true, and we won't really know until week one. But I hope Vandergriff is everything people are saying he is. I hope the offense is really clicking like we're hearing from practice. So
I mean, that's what it's all going to come down to is Brock. We've got great receivers and Key and Brown. We got great tight ends, Caddis, and I think even Kamari is doing well. Um, I guess a bit of a question mark at running back with, yeah, as Clyde just says, the guy from Ohio State. Not sure what he'll bring to the table, but I think it's all on the sh- shoulders of Brock. He's got the weapons to throw to. We just gotta make sure he does his end of the job.
Wildcat Country says if our offense gets less than 10 delay of games this season, I'll consider that a victory in itself. LOL. Yeah. Yeah, we were just talking about that at the beginning of the show. Corey had all the time in the world to do his stats
Yeah.
because the offense played so slow. So yeah, hoping that the pace of play increases. Am I hearing correctly that they're not huddling this year, Corey? I think I heard that they're just gonna look to the sideline and not huddle and try to. They're not gonna play like total tempo like Ole Miss, but they're gonna try to save some time there, from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I do think Bush likes the no huddle plus this year. The QBs have like that microphone system thing. Um,
Yeah,
so
and the video, isn't that a
yeah,
thing too that's gonna happen? That yeah,
uh,
the video system.
yeah, something like that. So yeah, I'm all for the no huddle. I mean, like you said, they're not going to be Ole Miss fast, but they're going to definitely be. I mean, it's hard to not be faster or to be slower than last year. So um, I'd say there'll will be times where they'll go to like maybe 10 seconds on the play clock, which might seem slow, but once again, it's much faster than last season.
Must we weren't breaking the huddle till 6 or 7
Right.
seconds,
Yeah.
left on the play clock last year. But
Exactly.
hey, Pete says he's just glad they got some good linemen on both sides now. I mean, that's what I'm hearing too, right? Is that both sides of the line of scrimmage are going to be much improved this year? Is that your impression too, Corey?
That's how you win in the SEC. It's you win
Yeah.
at the line, both sides of the ball. We got lots of experience on the O line. Really have lots of experience on both sides. Walker is not even human. Uh,
No, he's
uh,
not.
we got Silver and Oxendine and Ripka. I think our O line D line should be one of our best parts of each each side of the ball. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, we'll do like a last call for calls here, 502-234-1504. Kentucky basketball is going to hold open tryouts for their final spot, for spot number 13, from what I understand. Corey, back in the day, back in your UK days, would you try out for Kentucky basketball?
No, I would not want
You
to
wouldn't have even
embarrass myself. No,
you don't think you would have even just like tried just for the fun of it?
no. I played rec league. I think you could had some like intramural league. I played in a little bit. I'm not was not great, so I wouldn't waste my time honestly. Tons of guys on campus that aren't on the team that are pretty good. I'm sure played ball in high school. So
Man, some of those guys at the Johnson Center even just playing pickup basketball. Man, it's like how how are you not playing, D1 somewhere, right? Like some of these just guys
right.
dunk on I remember the football team used to come over too and play pickup. When I was there, Lynn Bowden would come over and play pickup with everybody at the JC. So I mean it was pretty crazy. A couple of football guys kind of teased trying out for the team. I think it was Maxwell Harrison. Speaking of Clyde, mentioning him, and Deion Walker. Kind of, obviously just kidding, probably, but you know. Would you like to see one of these situations, where you had the baseball kid that walked on a few years back, somebody that plays another sport, kind of fill that spot to just be a body in practice?
I think I saw a video of Maxwell Harrison dunking. So maybe Harrison. Maybe who knows?
Yeah, maybe you actually will. Who knows? Speaking of music, Wildcat Country says, Corey, you need some Pink Floyd to go with that background back there, or the Commodore's Brick House. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, you need to get that going on back there. Yeah, with that background. Um, but we'll start to kind of wrap things up here, guys. Last thing I kind of wanted to talk about here is this sort of new NIL thing that's going on that Matt again kind of so brilliantly explained on KSR earlier this week, being the lawyer that he is and understanding his stuff a little better than the rest of us. But basically, it sounds like every school after this year is going to get $22 million to play with for NIL to distribute for athletes. And what schools are going to have to do is think about, you know, putting that toward, all toward football, mostly toward football and basketball, or, distributing out more to some secondary sports. And, Corey, the problem that we run into, obviously, is we're in the SEC, big football conference, but historically a big basketball program, right? So our basketball blue blood rivals, like Kansas, Duke, and these teams might put all their money toward basketball because they're not going to care about football, right? But us, we still got to think about competing and being competitive in the SEC for football. So we can't just put it all toward basketball. So Corey, how do you think that's going to play out? I mean, I don't envy Mitch Barnhart, but sort of what would you do in that situation? Would it be one of these things where you just kind of put it mostly toward basketball and say, well, we're just going to try to keep doing what we're doing in football, or what would your take on that be?
It's a tough call. The landscape of college athletics is going to change drastically over the next 5 to 10 years. I don't envy Mitch's job. I'm kind of a softie. I want all of our sports to do well and succeed and grow and prosper.
Yep.
So I'd probably just do the math and spread it all evenly, which I know would never happen. But I am worried in the near future that the Olympic sports, uh, I don't know what their future is going to be when I would assume most of this money is going to go to men's basketball and football.
Yeah.
Um, we have several great Olympic sports. Obviously, track and field, of course, with many of our alums getting medals this past week in Paris. Volleyball, of course, we won a national championship. Rifle, we won national titles. I'm worried that those might be brushed off to the side. So we will have the utmost success for men's basketball and football, maybe even women's basketball. I hope that's not
Yeah.
the case. Like I said, I want um, all of our sports to do well. We're generally pretty good in the standings, and like I think it's the Directors Cup. I think is a ranking of all the sports that a college has. I think we've been top 20 before in that. I hope we can stay that way, but unfortunately, I think most of the money is going to go towards football, men's basketball,
Yeah.
and I guess see where the chips fall from there.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Well, and that's what's going to happen, right? Is it's going to go mostly toward probably three sports. I would think it would be football, men's basketball, and women's basketball. Probably be what it goes to. Um, but the football side of things, with most of these schools throwing all their money at football, um, you know, I think you have to look at the fact that if you see a Texas A&M that's going to throw $20 million toward football, you got to recognize that we're not going to be we're not currently on the same level of competing for national championships as like a Texas A&M or a Georgia or an Alabama, and so we probably shouldn't try to be, right. We should probably just kind of continue to float the boat. Like if we match that with NIL that Texas A&M is offering, we're not going to all of a sudden be a national championship program. So I think you got to keep the basketball program at the top of the list, and then and try to keep the football program kind of where it is now, whatever that looks like. And then obviously, I'm excited about the future of women's basketball. To be honest with you, with Kenny Brooks, right? Like, I mean,
Yep.
like that dude is. We talk about Pope's energy, but Kenny really. Kenny's really bringing it, so it's going to be great. I even think this year, Corey, the women are going to be um, I mean, they're going to be competing. They might even make a run in the tournament. I don't think they're going to win the national championship necessarily, but I think they're going. They can make a run in the Final Four if things go right. And he's put together quite a roster in a short amount of time.
He took Virginia Tech to the Final Four, brought in a lot of great players like Mark Pope, pretty much the entire new roster. A lot of great foreign players. I think one of our players, I think, is on the U18 team in Portugal, and she's been dominating. I think there's some tournament I think they played in recently, and I think she's averaging like 20 points a game in that tournament. So future is definitely bright for women's basketball, which is a breath of fresh air. So the last few seasons have not, like men's basketball, not been great.
Well, guys, we might kind of start to wrap it up here. It's we've been going a little bit over an hour here, but thanks for joining us, and we'll just want to remind everybody to follow us on everything. Follow us on Facebook, and we have an Instagram, X. We're on YouTube, Twitter. Well, I guess that doesn't exist anymore. I guess that's X. I'm going through my whole spiel here. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those things. So be sure to check us out on all those things. And during the year, during the football season, we're going to start doing our post-game shows again. So after every football
Awesome.
game, we'll do a post game show, so be sure to be on here and check us out for that. So we'll be doing that. And Corey, hope to have you on again soon. To talk
Of course.
more football and basketball too. As we get closer to basketball season here, to Mark Pope's inaugural season. So we'll be looking forward to that. So yeah, just be sure you subscribe to us on all the things so you don't miss anything. And we'll keep you up to date. And yeah, we'll keep pushing out content. And Corey, I think we just got one thing left to do. We just got to name the episode, right?
I
So
was
yeah.
you stole my thunder. I was just about to ask what you were going to name the show.
Well, you're the guest, so I'm gonna
Oh
give you
boy.
first dibs here if you have any thoughts here. So
Talking boas. Why not?
oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Talking boas or talking crabs. Probably talking boas. That's probably
Crabs is
probably
probably better actually.
yeah. Well, It could be. I like boas. You said boas first, so that that could be good. Talking
Yeah,
vending machines, talking Iowa,
I don't think vending machines.
and we could do
I
that.
would vote for maybe boas and crabs. Talking boas and crabs. There you
Oh,
go. Coleman and crabs. There you go. That's it.
Coleman, Corey, and crabs. Yeah, that's a different kind of C cubed there. C
Yeah.
cubed part two.
And
Um,
crabs is a seafood. So there you go.
yeah, they do seafood. Is that what we're going with? Are we going talking crabs or talking boas?
Uh, let's go talking crabs. Why not?
Okay, talking crabs. We were talking spit last week for the
Yeah.
Louisville players spitting on us. So talking crabs this week. Yeah.
I just gotta say I was at the game at Freedom Hall and that the atmosphere was crazy. We were severely outnumbered in terms of fans, but it was awesome. It's always a pleasure when we can beat Louisville in Louisville. I was acting a fool. I'm not even gonna lie. I was having a ball. It was awesome.
Man, I was gonna ask you, here's as we're kind of wrapping up, man. I know you went to some of those La Familia games. Even, the little candid I took, well, I didn't take it, but the candid I put on our page of you, you
Yep.
were at a La Familia game there. So with the rocking the 606 shirt there. So
Right.
yeah, how was that, man? Was the atmosphere as good as everybody was saying?
Uh, Freedom Hall it was crazy. It felt like a March Madness game. It was crazy. I mean, the fans were into it from starting tip to the final shot. Like I said, we were severely outnumbered, so way too many CARDS chants. Couldn't stand it, but I mean, after every three, I was going crazy. I mean, Nate hit I think 6 threes himself. I think that game. So, like I said, I was acting a fool when Nate hit those three, and when Harrison hit the final shot. Yeah, special.
Yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. Having Andrew Harrison hit a shot to beat Louisville, I mean, you can't write it up any better than that. So that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed those games and jealous that you got to be there. That's awesome. So it sounds like it was just as good in person as everybody was saying. So um, well, guys, like I said, be sure to follow us on everything so you don't miss anything. Be looking for our post game shows. In addition to our weekly Thursday night shows for once football season starts up here. But in the meantime, we'll see you back here next week. And Kane will probably be back on here. And I'm sure Corey will be back on again soon. Thanks again, Corey, for joining me.
It was a pleasure, Coleman, as always.
As always. Hey, so for Coleman Scott and for Corey Price and for Krabs, this
That's
has
right.
been
That's right.
episode number 105 of Talking Kentucky. And we'll see you folks later. Go Cats.